Guys, I'm going to do something nice here and actually get a video out early. I sit here filming some for my seniors, and I've been kind of laying down a bunch of stuff. I'm trying to knock out actually all of my prep work that I need for these last 2.5 weeks so that I can get them done. I've got some, and y'all don't need to hear about every time I have a video about my issues, but I've got some stuff I need to get done. I want to make sure everything is in line for you guys, that if something comes up, you guys are covered. Your grades need to be set. So I've done all the questions for the rest of the book for you guys, for example. I'm going to start knocking out these videos, and I'm going to start uploading them, and hopefully you guys can get through, and those of you who do want to work ahead can. I may not be able to get all of the videos out super early, but I'm hoping to start doing a little better with that, okay? So the other thing I want to point out is if this video has issues, and there's some issues with it gets jumpy or something, I am uploading another video in the background. I'm not sure how much my computer can take. So hopefully this will work. If it doesn't, one of you email me and let me know that, hey, the video's not working. It's not very clean. We can't see or whatever, because I'm not going to go back and watch myself. I'm kind of repulsed by videos, to be honest with you, but I want them for you. So, all right, let's go. This is the Thursday reading for the 5 people you meet in heaven. It's the 4th of 15 lecture notes we're going to do, okay? Today you're supposed to read pages 25 through 32 in that PDF you have. It's not a lot, but it's really important. I got to be honest with you, of the 5 people that Eddie, and by the way, I'm going to probably call him Maury a couple of times. I apologize. The 5 people that Eddie meets in heaven, I think this first one may be, for me, the most impactful. Just some of the stuff he says. All right, everybody's powerful. They all say some really interesting stuff, the last one particularly, but he's got some great messages. So we had just talked about how the blue man had pointed out, hey, you're not in your heaven, you're in mine. And what he means by that is not that we each have our own heavens, but that, and we'll see this as we get towards the end of the book, that, the way it's set up is you go through 5 people who explain to you the value of your life, the meaning and the purpose, and how we're all interconnected. And then you return that favor to 5 other people. So you'll be waiting in an area that you pick for them to arrive, and you get to have a conversation with them about 5 lessons that God wants them to know, okay? So Eddie's about to get his first lesson, and so it's really kind of cool. So the guy wants to give him some background first, so he shows him, because Eddie's like, I don't know, I mean, I saw you before, but we don't have any interaction, and what we're trying to see is how their lives overlap. So if you did your reading, you got this really sad story about how indirectly Eddie's responsible for the death of the blue man, and what it came from was Eddie was a baseball he had gotten for his birthday. He's out playing with it, and it rolls out. I made a mistake earlier in the book and said something about the ball rolling into the street, and it had actually rolled into a tent. Well, here's where it rolls into the street, and Eddie runs out to get it, and the blue man's driving the car. He swerves to miss the kid. He misses the kid. Everything's fine, but they say because he's the adrenaline that's pumping when you do that, and then he almost hits someone else. He turns down an alleyway, slams into the back of a car, ends up having a heart attack, and he's dead. I mean, that little small thing, and Eddie had no clue about it. He had no idea this had happened. He had no idea it was his fault. But in the end, he's the reason this happened. So we get to today is Eddie's birthday. It says he's 8 at this point, and he's going to a funeral. And I think that the thing here is, I think this is the blue man's funeral. Yeah, it seems to be. I'm making an assumption here that it is, based on today's Eddie's birthday italicized passage, as well as when we get into the first lesson. I think that's what it is. Eddie's upset because it's his birthday, and he doesn't want to go to a funeral on his birthday, which who does? But he's being very selfish, but he's an 8-year-old. That's kind of expected. Now, when we get it, and one of the cool things about the way this book is organized is you have, the first person he meets in heaven, and then you may have 1 or 2 of those, this is Eddie's birthday sections thrown in there, and then you get the lesson. And this is the first lesson he was supposed to learn. And once again, for me, I like this one the most. I think this one's the most powerful. Eddie immediately was like, please, Mr. Eddie pleaded, I didn't know. Believe me, God help me, I didn't know. So he immediately says, hey, look, man, Eddie thinks he's there to be punished. He's there to be got on to. And the blue man says, hey, you were too young. You didn't know what happened. It's totally fine. But Eddie's like, but now I got to pay, right? And the blue man's confused. He's like, to pay for what? And Eddie's like, my sin. That's why I'm here, right? Justice. The blue man smiled. No, Edward, you're here so I can teach you something. All the people you meet here have one thing to teach you, and that's kind of a great thing. It's like each of these 5 people's got one big lesson that we want you to take with you. And Eddie's like, what lesson is there? And this is one of the only ones that's very, black and white drawn out. He says, I want to teach you that there are no random acts. We are all connected, that you can no more separate one life from another than you can separate a breeze from the wind. I love that analogy. You can't take breeze out of the wind. They're connected. And guys, we like to think of our lives as our own little piece of humanity, but really we're a part of a bigger thing. It's one of the things that this pandemic has done really well for a lot of people is draw them closer together and realize how interconnected we are. I mean, I think before this happened, most of you didn't realize how important things like truck drivers or grocery stockers are, but they're immensely important, and not just in a pandemic. All right. Some of your parents are learning how important teachers are right now. Probably not in high school, but definitely in elementary school. Those parents are learning that teachers are much more important than they thought they are. Look at things like nurses and doctors and all these different positions, how important these people are to our world and how we don't think twice about them sometimes. And that's what he's trying to point out, is that we're all interconnected. You aren't your own little island, and quit thinking you are. If you think of yourself as I'm part of a bigger picture, then it doesn't cheapen your life. It makes it have more value and makes you realize that the things you do and say have much more impact than you may realize. All right. He says, I love this. Eddie shook his head. We were throwing a ball. It was my stupidity running out there like that. Why should you have to die on account of me? It ain't fair. And the blue man held out his hand. Fairness, he said, does not govern life and death. If it did, no good person would ever die young. He points out this, and I'm going to point something out to you that's not mentioned here. Guys, quit complaining about things being fair. That's just not a real thing. Fair, it's sports that are designed around being fair aren't even fair. All right? Fairness doesn't exist in life. It just doesn't. It's one of those things that's imaginary, in my opinion. All right. You make sense of it however you want, and you can complain about life's not fair. But once again, if you're a third string quarterback on an NFL team, you make more in 1 year never seeing the field than I'll make in a decade. That's not fair, in my opinion. Doesn't matter. All right. It's the way it is. So you just have to deal with that. So then we get into the scene where they're talking about a funeral, and it feels like I'm thinking that this is the one that Eddie was at in the this is his birthday thing. He also points out, okay, Eddie asks, I still don't understand what good came from your death. You lived, the blue man answered, but we barely knew each other. I might as well have been a stranger. The blue man put his arm on Eddie's shoulders, and Eddie felt that warm, melting sensation. Strangers, the blue man said, are just family you have yet to know. You have yet to come to know. And I love that line. I really do. And, the guy points out, he's like, what good came of you dying? And he's like, well, if I hadn't swerved and had that heart attack, I would have hit you and you'd have been dead. So the good that came out of it is you survived and I didn't. Now, that is going to come back not in next week's reading, but the next week's reading when we get to the very last person he meets. And guys, I got to tell you something. The ending of this book, and I don't know why, there's not as many like tearjerker moments as there were in Tuesdays with Morrie, but the ending of this book is rough on me. It plays havoc with me because of what happens with the fifth person, and we'll see that later. It's brilliantly planned, to be honest with you. All right, with that, it says the blue man pulled Eddie close, and instantly Eddie felt everything the blue man had felt in his life rushing into him, swimming into his body, the loneliness, the shame, the nervousness, the heart attack. It slid into Eddie like a drawer being closed. I'm leaving, the blue man whispered in his ear. This step of heaven is over for me, but there are others for you to meet. Now, immediately after this, Eddie starts asking, and he's going to do this to every one of, maybe not the fourth one, but I know for the next three at least, for this one, the next 2 and 3, he asks them before they leave, did I save the little girl on the pier, the one I tried to pull out of the way? And they don't have an answer for him. Since the blue man did not answer, Eddie slumped. My death was a waste, just like my life. No life is a waste, the blue man said. The only time we waste is the time we spend thinking we are alone. Now, that's a quote that's used from this book a lot. I see it on a lot of like little pictures and stuff. And it's a really cool one. It's not my favorite in this section, but it is neat. He's like, no life's a waste. The only time we waste is the time we think we're alone, because he's pointing out you're not. We never are. All right. At that point, he disappears. And then we get this Sunday 3 p.m. This is just, we're going to see these other sections mixed in with the first lesson and the first person you meet in heaven. And this is Eddie's birthday. You also get these date and times. These are usually the ones that are set in present day. So this is like immediately after the accident at the pier, and they're finding Eddie's body, a pretty sad one. We get another Today is Eddie's Birthday passage then, and this is one about a person who's going to make a big impact on his life. This is talking about the first time we get to talk about, I think this is where he talks about Marguerite. Well, he talks about a girl, but that's who it is. And this is a lot of the rest of in fact, this is the rest pretty much of what you're supposed to be reading, is that interaction where he's telling his family about this girl he's met who he danced with, and he's really into her, and this is going to be his wife eventually. Really interesting lady. Let me give you a minor spoiler here. We talked about how the people he meets in heaven are all people he kind of are interacting with his life, but kind of externally. They're not like a major impact. The fourth person he meets is her. So we are going to get this one really big figure in his life, and it's probably the climactic point in some ways of this book, depending on how you want to look at plot, because she is the only one of the four who's like a really huge part of his life, and they have a really interesting interaction. So we're going to see more about her, and it's going to bleed. And if you haven't noticed, each of these This is Eddie's Birthdays are going a little bit further forward, a little bit more of his life. The last one we get, it's going to hit like 7 or 8 of them, bang, bang, bang in a row as it kind of speeds it up. But until then, we're going to get like important birthdays. It may seem unimportant at the time, and that's part of the lesson. There's a lot of things that happen on a day-to-day basis. Sorry, there goes my phone. Probably my wife. So if you get a little music in the background. Well, let me close here and go answer that. But I hope you enjoyed this. I apologize for that loud in the background. Gosh, I wish she never calls me on the way home, and today she's going to do it. There, it stopped. I'm going to film the next couple videos, hopefully here in a few minutes, and get some more of these out. I may dump them all into your OneNote tonight, and try to make that a little less cluttered. We'll see. So anyway, if nothing else, you'll have this, and you can maybe jump a day ahead. So I appreciate you guys. Again, thank you for your work. Thank you for those of you who are. I've had a couple of you email me about my videos, and I really appreciate that. I miss my classroom. I miss it more than you could ever know. And those little comments make it a little bit easier to be sitting here in my den again doing this. So thank you guys. You all are amazing, and I appreciate every one of you. All right. Take care, and I will hopefully be seeing you again soon. All right. Talk to you later, guys. Bye.